I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning.
Welcome back. Racial disparities that seem to exist along socioeconomic lines, it's difficult to debate. Average household income of whites, 56% larger than that of African Americans and 39% larger than that of Hispanics. And blacks, they top the list when it comes to single-parent households. 2/3 of black homes are run by a single parent. Compare that with 42% of Hispanics and 25% of whites. And on the education front, in 2013, the last time we have these numbers here, 40% of whites between the ages of 25 and 29 had a bachelor's degree or more. Compare that to 20% of African Americans and 15% of Hispanics. And the Pew Research Center reports that in 2010, black men were more than 6 times as likely than white men to be incarcerated or be in the criminal justice system. Okay, I'll start with you, Reverend, in that the social compact and whatever we talk about, race or the criminal justice system, at the end of the day, it is hard enough in today's day and age with both parents working to cover the economic needs of a family. But when only one person is present, from the economics to all the social challenges that become twofold as a result, how much have you seen that problem, specifically in the African American community with the absence of the father, is contributing to so many of these problems?
I would say that it is amazing. It is astounding that any of the African American males at this table right now are at this table right now. I would say if we are led and influenced by numbers and data, we could just simply stop right now and say, what's the point? I say all that to say that the amazing thing about the African American community is the ability to succeed in the presence of so many reasons to fail. I would say that in spite of all of these numbers and all of the explanations, you have a group of people who are determined to defy the odds. Now, would it be nicer if those odds weren't against us? Yes, it would. Would it be better if we all grew up in nice communities with strong educational systems? Yes, it would. But it is the heart and the will and the spirit of people in these scenarios who make a decision, I'm going to excel anyway,
but
that puts us here today.
And the success stories that we've talked about, even
Right.
with people at this table that have gone through that, it's amazing. But Dominic, as they say, the numbers don't lie. A lot of folks, a lot of kids don't make it. And the absence, and you've talked openly about this, of a male father figure in the household, it has impacts that don't show up in the numbers here that impact lives. Talk about that, and then also talk about how we can change the cycle, how we can make it less acceptable to just leave. But talk about first the impact of no dad around has had on so many households now on multiple generations.
Well, Richard, this is an emotional topic for me. And what Pastor just said is so accurate that the 4 black men at this table tonight, based on the stats you just did, it's a miracle that all of us are here. Law enforcement, lawyer, pastor, journalist. You already know that I met my father once my entire life. And so the deck is stacked. If just pick any newscast in America. Sometimes it makes me cry. Pick any city in America, any newscast. If it bleeds, it leads. It's predominantly black stories, one after another. This one killed this one. This one stabbed that one. You know, this one child abuse. This one the police responded and the kids were not being taken. There are so many things that if we're going to look at this and be honest, that are against us. But as Pastor said, and he's right, in our tradition and in a tribute to the black woman in our community, that is the rock in our community. Sometimes when us men, when we haven't been doing the things that we should do, because to your premise, it does start. If daddy's home and he's able to lead the family and discipline the children, and I'm not saying physically, but discipline the children when necessary. Be a moral leader. Be a good leader. Then the things that are happening now, it's disgusting what's happening out there on the street, Richard. I don't need. All of us could go through this. I'm just going to be quiet now because it's just very touching for me.
And I only got a couple minutes left, so a minute each on this one, guys, because this is something that no legislation can solve. This is in a household. This is a decision that's made. All the economics and all the other stuff, and you've seen it on both sides of it.
Right. I'm a single parent myself, and I feel we as African Americans, we have to take control of our own destiny. We can't look for other people to give us things. Handouts don't work. I mean, they may help, but overall, it's something that we need to take upon ourselves as a community. Whenever I graduated from when I got my doctorate degree, my master's degree, my bachelor's degree, I always had my kids in attendance. Whenever I did things that were of significance in my life, I made sure I had my kids in attendance. So I go back to us as a community, we have to take care of our own, because if we don't, looking for someone else to extend their hand is going to be less apt to happen.
Well, I agree, but I also think that we as a culture in the United States, not just African Americans, but all Americans, are moving away from sense of community, moving away and moving more toward I am an individual, I have my freedoms, I'm what's important, everybody else is here for me. So when we start to do that and you have the breakdown of larger communities, it's not surprising that the family also breaks down. And if you look at the trends, these trends are increasing in the white community as well. You're moving more towards single parent households. Yep. Now, sometimes you're better off with a single parent household, because if mom and dad can't get along, maybe you're better off not having them in the house fighting, and they can both love the children from their own perspectives.
But the overwhelming numbers are the numbers.
And economically, again, when you look at the decline in factory jobs, the decline in jobs for people who are not quote unquote skilled, it's going to be a challenge across the board.
Well, as we do every year, we choose to share the Eye of the Dream speech, and while people know parts of it and stuff, I can't go enough how much if you just listen to it. Now, has the dream been realized? I don't think anyone at this table will say it has. We've made progress here, but I really wonder what Dr. King would say if he was here today. Okay, it is one of the most famous and influential addresses in American history, the I Have a Dream speech, when we return.